I wasn't challenged until I got started in entrepreneurship. There's a different world out there. There's more out there for me. I don't have to be stuck there. And unfortunately, some people stay in their environment, man, and never get a chance to explore and see what's possible. I saw what was possible. I saw the comparison between the contrast between the hood and suburbs and said, man, I want more for my family. I don't have to be here. I saw people who thought bigger, who wanted more for my life. And so as I hung around people who thought bigger, who dreamed bigger, who had bigger goals, I realized I can do more. So sometimes your environment can cap your thinking.
Sold out service, and you know we've been working. We serving, we earning. The watches, it's hurting. Big heart, but it started with Chris. Seen a lot when it comes to this biz. Don't serve, don't earn. They gotta shift keys to be a capitalist.
Being born and raised in Compton, California, you know, Compton gets a bad rap as the hood, gang violence, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, every county in the country has its hoods, right? Not every county, most counties have their hoods, right? LA had their hoods. And I think what growing up in Compton did for me is that when you grow up in the hood, like, it prepared me for business. I'll tell you why. Because like, when you grow up in the hood, man, it's an environment where there may be some light violence here and there, just gang violence, things of that nature, but you learn how to stand up for yourself. I remember at a young age, man, and like, when you're there, you're in it, you think it's normal, right? So you're in third grade, you're getting in fights at school, kids are gonna bully you, right? I think that's pretty normal to me, right? But maybe not. You're in fifth grade, you're getting banged on. People are asking you, what hood are you from? Right? And so you either run or you fight or you stand up for yourself. I've been in dozens of fights before the age of 10. Like it was normally part of what we did. I remember one time, it was a kid in my neighborhood, he would take people's bikes.
Oh, shit! That's my bike, punk!
He'll just take your bike, man. I'm 9 years old, I got my bike, and he would push me off. He pushed me off my bike one time and took it from me. I go home, my mom says, go get your bike. I'm like, Mom, I'm 9, 10 years old. This guy's 14. For a 10-year-old to a 14-year-old, man, that's like a big deal, man. He's a grown man in my eyes, right? And he was like not going to school, was hanging out with some of the guys in the hood who were banging. And so like, go get your bike. I'm like, okay. And so I remember going up to this guy and getting my bike, man. And like, he was like, what? And like, we get into a fight, he beats me up, but I get my bike back. What lessons taught in that, right? And I'm not advising anyone to do this here, but it's crazy that like, I think to myself, my son right now who's growing up in privilege, right? His dad's working, he's in a gay community, all this stuff, right? What did I get from that lesson? To stand up for yourself, to face fear, to fight. Even if you lose, you win, because guess what? I walked away that day with my bike, and I'm walking away beat up, poor puppy, right? I'm like, man, I got my bike back. And so that's one lesson from the hood I learned, that you learn to stand up for yourself. And since then, man, if someone tested me, I fought. Because like in the hood, like you get tested, and you know certain things happen. Like, man, if you're a punk, man, you're a punk. You don't want to get punked in the hood, man. Like you want to be that guy where people can just bully. And so you gotta stand up for yourself. So I learned how to fight at a young age. How to stand up for myself, and how to get to a point to where, okay, cool, if someone pushes me the wrong way, I gotta stand up for myself, I gotta fight. And I think in business, and then just in life in general, I'm a guy who has a good heart, man. I got a good heart. I'm not a bully at all, but I will stand up for myself. Like, I'm gonna stand up for my family. I think growing up in the hood, they say it makes you street smart, but it gives you a certain sense of, okay, cool, what's happening, what's going on, what's dangers are happening, because like, you're on hiatus, man. Imagine being like in Afghanistan, being in Iraq, and you're in the hood sometimes. I know guys I work with from Chicago. You're in Shawtown, like, man, I know a guy, one of my guys, man, I know Victor Lander, man. He's from the hood. And it's like, he's from a place where he kind of knows what's happening. He's looking around. Of course, and he's a successful entrepreneur now, but he kind of has that edge where, okay, cool, you see danger, what's happening. Kind of like a guy in the Army or a Marine who's been out to war, who's been deployed a couple times. PTSD, right? For me, I'm looking for sketchy things happening. I go into a gas station, my head's on a swivel. And so obviously, man, what it does for a person, that it gets you to a point where you have a high sense of what's happening. You're keen to studying people. You're watching people. You're watching this guy in business, man. Does he have good intentions? It allows me to know how to read people fast. Because if I'm in a place where I'm in an environment where, okay, cool, I have to be careful who I'm talking to. This guy's from the wrong hood. Who's in this neighborhood here? It keeps your senses on hiatus. I met people in business where they're sometimes gullible in business. They trust too easily. I'm like, nah, man, that guy may have bad intentions. Huh? Nah, he's good. I'm gonna watch it back there. And so I think growing up in the hood, you may look at it as a negative perspective, but it gave me a positive insight on life because it made me street smart, and because I had to be street smart to survive. And I think one thing growing up in the hood also did for me was this: made me realize there were better things out there. Like, we would go and leave and went to, right? We had a school field trip where we went to Knott's Berry Farm, right? We're at Knott's Berry Farm, and we're there. I'm seeing all the rides, and I'm seeing kids having a good time. I'm seeing different nationalities, white, black, Hispanic. I'm like, okay, cool. cool. I grew up in a predominantly black and Hispanic neighborhood. So I'm seeing people of other races. I'm seeing, okay, cool. They're hanging out. I'm like, man, it's different here in Knott's Berry Farm, man. Like these kids are walking around, man. And like, this is a different world out there. I didn't travel a lot there. My dad and my mom divorced when I was 3 years old. My dad got a house in the suburbs. My best friend's name was Joey, right? White boy, man. He's my boy, man. We were texting the other day on Instagram, man. He's in Oregon now. And Joey's my best friend. I'm seeing a different world. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm seeing what's possible. I'm seeing, okay, cool. My dad lived on the street and it was a cul-de-sac. There was no bars, no windows. No bars, no windows. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. Like no bars, no windows. We didn't lock the door at night. Like, why is the door unlocked? No one's gonna like trying to like bring it to your house. Because where I grew up at, like you lock the doors, you got bars, no windows. It gave me the ability to say, okay, cool. When I went back to the hood and went to other places, okay, cool, there's a different world out there. There's more out there for me. I don't have to be stuck there. And unfortunately, some people stay in their environment, man. They never get a chance to explore and see what's possible. I saw what was possible. I saw the comparison between the contrast between the hood and suburbs and said, man, I want more for my family. I don't have to be here. And my mom and dad, they did a good job of getting us all. We moved to a neighborhood in North Long Beach and they worked their tails off. They provided for us, man. So at the end of the day, they did very well by us. But for me, as a man, growing up in the hood, growing up in a tough neighborhood, it gave me contrast and perspective. So I appreciate what I have now. I appreciate being able to walk to the car and not worrying about things. I appreciate going out to the street and taking the trash out, not worrying about there being a drive-by, right? It may sound crazy when you grow up in that environment, you gotta keep your head on a swivel for things like that. Early in my life, we had food stamps. I can remember as a kid, my mom going to go buy some food. And I'm like, that's not money. What's that? Like, is that Monopoly money? Like, how are you paying for this food with Monopoly money? Like, what is that, right? And if you're a kid, you have no clue what's going on. It's food stamps, all right? Because the government gives us food stamps to buy food. And of course, my mom did well after that. She ended up going to school, getting a degree, becoming a teacher, and getting us out that circumstance of being on food stamps. But overall, like, it gave me a perspective on life. Sometimes when you grow up in an environment where there may be a small cap, like your dreams was just like making like, just getting the okay job. Like, unfortunately, as adults, as mentors, as influencers in our household, we create a cap on what our kids can and can't do unless other mentors come into their lives. And so obviously, God bless my father, my stepfather, man, who did a good job of raising me in my house. I lived in Compton. He was a salesman. He sold, he provided for our household. But they kind of gave me, my mom and dad gave me a cap on what I can do. I have to break through that. And sometimes growing up in an environment where, hey, just, getting out the hood, just getting a good job is okay. And so I think for us, the dream was get out the hood, move to a better city, move to Orange County, and your life is great. And so for me, believe it or not, early in my life, my vision, my dream, my goal was to get a house in the suburbs, drive an updated Camry, right? Live a good life, work, go home, go to work, come back, work at Apple, have a good job. That was my dream. Why? Because it was so much more than what my mom had when she was younger. And she was in her 20s and 30s. It was so much more than what my parents had. So I said, man, I'm doing well for myself. So I think sometimes in life we have to break through what our parents showed us, maybe go out there, explore, be around mentors, be around people who are doing more, people that can show you a better possibility, because I wasn't challenged until I got started in entrepreneurship. I saw people who thought bigger, who wanted more for my life. And so as I hung around people who thought bigger, who dreamed bigger, who had bigger goals, I realized I can do more. Sometimes your environment can cap your thinking.